You're listening to The Granite Discourse, a New Hampshire-based podcast with real discussions. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And for early access, subscribe to Patreon for just $1 a month. Thank you, and enjoy the show. Jason Osborne, welcome to The Granite Discourse.
That's me.
That's
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, it was a long way up here.
How was the scene?
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the state, and everywhere you go, there's something to see. So
Yeah.
no drive is too far.
Have you made it up this way often?
Not often, but yeah, from time to time, especially during campaign season, get up here to help all the candidates get themselves elected.
So how long you've been in the State House for this is your sixth term?
I think so. Yeah, 2014 would be my
2014
first election.
Okay. And what made you want to be a state representative to begin with?
I didn't really want to be. So you might have friends who do this to you as well, where they every now and then will badger you to put your name on the ballot to run for something, because in New Hampshire, almost everybody is a state representative, and if they're not now, they were at one point, and if not, then they will be at one point in the future. So I just got tired of being badgered, so I said, okay, fine, I'll put my name on a list and on the ballot. And I didn't really intend to win, because there was 15 people all signed up in my district and only 5 representatives, and they elected me, and they keep electing me. So here I am.
And how long have you been in New Hampshire for? Because you're not originally from New Hampshire?
No, so I grew up in San Diego a little bit, and also in Northeast Washington State.
Okay.
The internet will tell you I'm from Ohio. I'm really not. I did live there for a couple of years after grad school.
Okay. And what brought you to New Hampshire?
So my oldest kid was almost 5 years old, and so my wife and I had decided that before we have a 5-year-old, we need to be settled down where we're going to be for the rest of their upbringing. And so it was between here and my wife really liked Wyoming as well, and we settled here. We had a number of friends who had moved here, and this was the place to be, and I believe we chose correctly.
Yeah. Now are you a member of the Free State Project?
Well, they don't really have members.
Right.
So,
but was that
no, but yes, I guess.
Was that like a driving factor for you for New Hampshire?
Yes, I didn't know many people who had moved here for that reason, and my wife and I both heard about it when we were at college age or grad school, maybe. When that first paper was written about the concept. So.
Okay. And how long were you here before you got into politics?
4 years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, because when we moved here, I hated politics. I hated
Really?
everything about it. No intention of ever getting involved. And there was I think after the 2010 election, there was a big wave of Republicans that were elected to the state legislature, and they did all kinds of fun stuff that I saw and thought, well, you know what? If they can do it, I guess I can do it too. And they're passing bills like, hey, we need to put signs on the border warning people that they're entering the state of Massachusetts. I thought that was hilarious. They passed legislation out of the House to charge TSA agents with sexual assault. And so that was the kind of stuff that I thought would be fun to get into.
Okay. And have you introduced any legislation like that yourself?
No, because then I grew up, and now I take the job a little more seriously.
Yeah.
I don't take myself seriously at all. If you followed my Twitter account, I learned that from Congressman Massey. He said you need to take the job as seriously as you possibly can, and take yourself as little seriously as you possibly can. And I try to live by that.
That's some good advice.
As much as possible.
Yeah. So. Once you got into it, was there any issue in particular that drove you as far as what you wanted to do once you got in?
So I spent probably 2 terms just kind of kicked back and just taking it all in.
Drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah, I didn't, or like I said, I didn't intend to get elected, and so there I was, and I just didn't really know what I was getting into, and so it took a while to really just see how things worked and or how things didn't work really, and decided that hey, I really need to change how everything goes here, and so that's what I've been doing, since being caucus leader. Just changing the way that that we do things, I guess. Much less of a top-down approach, much more of a bottom-up approach. Finding out what the members want to do and then helping them do that.
Is that fairly new?
Well, not anymore because I've been doing it for 5 years now. But back in the day, it was certainly a new concept. I watched things happen like a budget just go down in flames because people weren't included in the process. And no, I'm not voting for this budget that you're trying to shove down my throat. And so we do things differently now.
How long have you been the majority leader?
5 years now.
5 years. Okay. And how did you get that job?
The speaker appoints the majority leader. So I guess the first speaker who appointed me was a man named Dick Hinch, who unfortunately passed, and then Speaker Packard replaced him. And so I've been working for Speaker Packard ever since.
Now, was it things that you've done in the State House that caught their attention?
I don't think so, because again, like I wasn't really involved too much, but I think it was more just talking. I spent many hours in my basement with Representative Hinch, just kind of talking through, what I observed, and what I wanted to change.
What do you think the biggest thing you've learned in that time has been?
That there are a lot more friends in the Republican Party than I thought that there were. I guess when I first got in, like I said, I didn't really care for politics because I didn't care for either party. The Democrats, Republicans, they all seemed the same to me. They're all, the uniparty is a word that gets thrown around a lot. That was kind of my perspective at the time. And after getting to know these people, I'd come to realize that, well, no, it's not really that way at all. There's just kind of a reality that sets in that, there are things that are just not possible that we want to do. And so maybe we should focus on the things that are possible and not so much on the things that are impossible. And so I found a lot more Republicans of like mind than I ever thought that there were.
Yeah.
And so I could count probably on one hand the number of Republicans that I just absolutely could do without.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was an independent up until 2022, but I typically would vote Republican. And that's one impression that I always had, was that there wasn't much of a difference between Democrats and Republicans. But over the years, it seems like the Republicans have more respect for individual liberty than the Democrat side has.
That is certainly true. And I had a meeting with a gentleman a couple weeks ago that kind of made things really clear for me, where he showed me this timeline of government in the United States. And there's been only 2 points in time where Democrats have controlled both houses of Congress and the White House. And that's where like 96% of government that we are oppressed by today came from.
Really?
And then that whole rest of the time, Republicans have only had control a couple times, and the margin is very small. Whereas when the Democrats had full control, they had like a 70% margin. They did whatever the hell they wanted to. It was during the New Deal and the Great Society. And meanwhile, Republicans have never had the opportunity to roll any of that back. And of course our voters get all mad that we don't. They're like, hey, why aren't you fixing this? Well, because you didn't give us enough of a margin. Mm-hmm. So if you gave us a bigger margin, we could maybe do something about it.
Yeah.
So instead, we're stuck with all this just snowballing of socialism. Obamacare the Trump administration just announced today, oh yeah, we're going to extend these subsidies again. Like, what, are you kidding me? We're really doing this?
I just saw that headline.
But what do you expect them to do? Like, we don't have enough margin to do anything about it.
Yeah. You have to make deals.
You do, unfortunately. I mean, we had a situation here in New Hampshire last term where our House majority was only, one seat at times.
Yeah.
It kind of fluctuated a little bit with resignations and what have you, but it was really a narrow margin the entire time. And, you can't do anything with because you'll never get every single Republican to agree, right? There's always going to be a handful that just don't. I've always had to deal with at least a dozen Republicans who just refuse to vote for any budget, like no matter what you do. It's like, no, I don't vote for spending. Like, not going to do it, and you can't talk them into it. So in that situation, you've got to figure out some way to convince Democrats to vote with you.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
Yep,
that's gonna be tough.
It is, but it's also very successful.
Yeah.
So, just trying to figure out how to create those win-win situations or enough of a win-win to get, 200 people to all agree on something.
So you're hurting cats.
Some of that, but the most, I think what has made us successful is just allowing this bottom-up process to happen.
Do you ever think that you have it and then you don't? Like, people just change their mind last minute, or
very, very few times it's happened to me. But generally, I know what people are thinking and what they're going to think, and what they will think if I just give them a chance to figure it out. But but there's been probably 2 times I've been really surprised, and only one of those times was very costly. But I always have backup plans. So you always have plan B, plan C. So no matter what they do, you can spin the situation in our favor. Because again, there's a cycle of this game where you elect as many Republicans as possible, so you can get as much Republican stuff done as possible, so that you can elect more Republicans, so that you can do more Republican stuff. So,
how do you think we're doing with that?
I think we're doing great with that. You can see it in the demographics. It's Republicans that are moving to the state and Democrats that are moving out. And I've always had a goal of 2030. That will be the point at which Republicans will have total domination of New Hampshire, and we won't have to worry about Democrats anymore.
So would we be considered a red state at that point, or do we still need some federal?
I believe we will.
Yeah.
Now, people don't necessarily agree with me, but I think they're starting to.
Yeah, it's crazy to look at the map of New England to see how blue the rest of New England is, and New Hampshire is I think it's like a bullseye, essentially for.
It is, and the downside, I think the worst thing we have going for us is that we still get 2 U.S. senators.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes our tiny state a target for the Democrats. And I think at some point in the past they decided, hey, for very little money we can go take those 2 U.S. senators. And the Republican Party has never bothered to counteract that, unfortunately.
Do you think that'll change anytime soon?
I am told that it will. I believe that New Hampshire is the top target for the next U.S. Senate race.
Really?
So I do expect to see a lot of resources diverted to us, and in turn will help our state level races as well.
What did you do, or what do you do for a living?
Oh, I don't have any time for that.
Yeah.
So, after 2030, I'll worry about going and making money. But
so that's gonna be kind of tough.
If you ask my wife, yes, she probably doesn't appreciate it nearly as much as as I do. I was in the call center business for a long time, and I went to grad school to be an economist, and at some point decided that teaching classes where nobody wanted to be there and writing books that nobody reads really wasn't a productive use of my time. So I decided to go make money in the real world instead. So I was in the call center business for 15, 16 years. Built a very, very large national company that unfortunately when COVID happened, the Trump and Biden administrations wiped that out.
Really?
Yeah. So lesson for everyone, do not do business with the federal government. So I had got to the point where the Department of Education was my largest customer. And when they shut down student loan repayment, and they didn't shut it down completely, they just paused it.
Yeah.
And said, 90 days, it'll come back. Okay, fine. So I kept paying people for 90 days, and then it'll be another 90 days. I kept paying people for another 90 days, and then Trump lost the election, and then it passed on to Biden, and Biden extended it for another 90 days. So eventually 2 years had gone by of me paying payroll and not getting paid.
Whoa.
And when you work for the federal government, like they'll still make you work even though they're not paying you. So we were doing all of this work that we weren't getting paid for, with the expectation that at the end of it, when things go back to normal, you file a contract adjustment and you get repaid for that money. And that never happened. So that was probably somewhere around $80 million that just got
gone,
wiped out. So, and I wasn't the only company. There was I believe nine other companies like me that all. Some of them were much larger and were able to stay in business, but others were like me and just wiped out overnight.
That's awful. There were a lot of people that really got screwed during COVID.
Yes, it was a horrible thing for this entire country. We're still suffering from it today.
Oh, yeah.
Right? This entire affordability crisis that we're all facing is because of what they did to shut down the economy.
That's why I can't stand the attacks I'm seeing on Thomas Massey, because when they were passing that initial spending bill, he was the only one that was speaking out against it in the House.
Yep.
And he was right.
He was right. And yeah, what do you do? I'm a big fan of Governor DeSantis in Florida as well. He was one of the only people that was standing up. And our New Hampshire legislature as well. We in the House Republicans were probably the epicenter of the fight against COVID tyranny.
Do you think we'll ever see anything like that again?
I suspect that was a trial run for the next thing. I mean, it won't be exactly the same. It'll be some other kind of catastrophe, but they'll find a reason to try to, shut it down, take it over, transfer wealth. I mean that was probably the largest wealth transfer to billionaires that has ever occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they try to blame the PPP program like that was the primary cause. That had really nothing to do with it. It was just all of the shutdown. And when people go out of business and those assets get gobbled up by other people, and it is just a massive wealth transfer.
Yeah. Because I was talking to Melissa Blasick about that on Twitter today, about landlords that couldn't evict people.
Oh, right.
And I knew landlords down in Massachusetts couldn't evict people, and they couldn't get any rent from them either, because the government said they didn't have to pay the rent. And those are people. One of the people that I knew started out with nothing, built up a fortune on his own, and then was just told, "Yeah, you can't make money anymore." It's criminal.
Yeah,
what happened?
Yeah, and I can't even remember how long that was that went, but I mean that's way too long for someone to. I mean, landlords typically are, they maybe have 90 days in the bank to cover loss of rent, but I mean you can't just go year or 2 years.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I hope that if something like that's ever attempted again, that people will have the knowledge to, or at least the memory to keep it from happening, participating in it. I don't even know how you stop it.
You'd like to think so, but again, they won't do it exactly the same.
No.
Right? So if they made it look exactly the same, then yes, it might trigger a memory. But then again, I mean, you're talking about science that had been built up, for hundreds and hundreds of years. Like we all know how to deal with viruses. Like I'm not even, a medical scientist, but I know that, when there's a virus, you don't lock down the economy. I mean, that's the dumbest thing ever. But that's what they did as, an experiment, and turned us all into guinea pigs, and we all just went along with it.
Yeah.
It's scary. I'm not even nearly as, frightened by what the government did to us as the fact that just everybody went along with it. Like it was totally fine.
And it gave a lot of people the power to be able to kind of screw over their neighbors without having any repercussions. People were calling on businesses where people weren't wearing masks, trying to get businesses shut down.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear about like a mass psychosis scenario, like that was one right there.
Yeah. Well, and that's a very good reason why, people like us need to be here in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
Right. 'Cause, I mean, we had it much better off than, elsewhere around this country.
That's why Tom Mannion said he moved out of Mass.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. So as somebody that went to school for economics, how much of that do you apply, like when you're working through the budget and all that stuff in the State House? Like you said that you can't get everybody. There's some people that you just can't get to vote on a budget. So how do you convince other people to go along with it? Because in New Hampshire you can't pass a budget if it's not balanced, which I think
that's correct. Yes,
which is awesome, and I didn't know that until recently, and I wish we had that at the federal level.
Yep.
So
it's balanced according to the projections, right? So you could, balance the budget by, projecting more revenue than is actually going to come in. I'll point out that the House generally has extremely accurate predictions when it comes to revenue, and then the Senate likes to, blow that up a little bit so that they can spend more money. And
really,
they generally tend to over exaggerate the revenues that are going to be forthcoming.
And the House and the Senate has to agree on a budget.
And we do have to agree at some point. So generally we give them a little bit, and generally they have to shave a little bit off.
And then the governor gets her say.
And she'll get the final. Well, yeah, so she gets to make the initial proposal, and then she's the last one to sign off.
Okay.
So she gets to be the first and the last. But yeah, so you've got, you need 200 out of 400 representatives, or I guess 201 representatives to sign off on it. Then you need 13 out of 24 senators, and then you need a governor. So you got to figure out how to align the priorities of all those different people. So I generally try to break down the problem into the most simplest components, and then make those happen. And I try to get that decided as early as possible. So like in January,
mm-hmm.
like try to figure out. And I do this through surveys and just calling people on the phone and getting them into a room and saying, hey, what's important? What do you want? And so I learned very, very quickly at the beginning of the year that I knew a couple things, like we can't raise taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the lower we can constrain the spending, the more votes I can get out of the Republican caucus. Ideally, we would actually cut spending. I knew with this governor that wasn't going to be able to happen. I knew that we wanted to expand school choice to be universal for every student. I knew that we wanted to free some of our healthcare industry. So cash clinics is one. Get rid of the 15-mile radius. That was another. Because up until this past year, if you wanted to open a new clinic, you wouldn't be able to open one within 15 miles of another clinic, which really affects you guys, up north here. You've got people trying to protect their monopoly basically at your expense.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So bad news, but we got rid of that. So that's good. We weren't able to do the cash clinic bill, but that'll be another.
And what would that do?
Allow you to run a clinic and not have to
take insurance,
take insurance or Medicare. Just cash only.
Seems like a pretty free market solution to the health industry.
It should be. And you look at other states where this is allowed. Oklahoma Surgery Center is probably one of the most famous ones, where you can go get your surgeries at a fraction of the cost that you can anywhere else. And the argument is, well, if you do that, it'll just put all these other people out of business. Well, that's not what happens in the real world.
Wouldn't it create more competition?
It should.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably one of the biggest problems with healthcare right now. There's not a lot of competition.
It's the competition and it's the subsidies. Anytime you subsidize demand, you're just going to increase costs and decrease quality and decrease access.
I saw something you put on X about SNAP benefits being the same way.
It's exactly the same.
And I never thought of it like that, I don't think, before. And I showed that to my wife, and I was like, that makes sense. If you subsidize groceries, then groceries go up.
Yep, and you can see it just in the shopping carts at the grocery store of the people using these things. Like, wait a second, that doesn't seem like what this program should be used for. So when I was a kid, I don't know if they still have this or not, but we would go, once a month down to the town hall, and you get like a box of stuff. Yeah, like you got your flour, your cornmeal, a brick of cheese, butter, powdered milk, canned pork. I think lot of stuff, like the stuff everybody needs. Yeah, and they didn't check your income statement, and there was no vetting, but it wasn't stuff that you'd want to go steal if you didn't need it. There
was a video about somebody getting a box of that stuff. It was all just basic food, and I was watching that, and it was all just they were complaining about that. That was all they could get, but that's all we ever buy. Yeah, is you make real meals out of it,
Yeah, I got, even as a very free market person, I don't have a whole lot of a problem with a system like that. I mean, it's not the most efficient thing, but it does provide a safety net for the most vulnerable people, and administration costs are very low if you don't have to vet people. I mean, they probably spend 10-15% of the cost of that program just making sure that the right people are getting it. Well, how about just take that 10-15% and use it to help feed people who need to be fed? And I would like to see the same thing happen with school lunch. Like we're arguing right now about, why don't we give the school lunch to, up to, 187% of poverty instead of just 183% of, like, well, how about we just give it to everybody, but you don't make the school lunch something that, people want. Like have protein bars or Soylent Green or, whatever, just whatever nutrition will help kids get through the day, because ostensibly that's the goal, but not have it be something that, don't have it be candy and soda that, the kids are going to, chug more than they need. And you can keep the cost very low. You can keep the administration costs low. So I don't know. We'll see.
So the cash clinics, is gonna be another attempt at that?
We will attempt that every year until we can get that by the Senate.
Yeah.
So one of these days we'll find something to trade for it.
It feels like it seems like it could be a good game changer.
It would be a little bit. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to solve the whole problem. I mean, you look at, Medicaid expansion is probably the biggest problem, and getting rid of that is going to be a massive uphill battle.
Now, Medicaid expansion, how does that work in New Hampshire when it's related to the federal government? Is that on New Hampshire?
90% of it is matched by the federal government. So, okay. so that's the argument. It's like, we need to get access to this 90% of the federal dollars, so we'll spend this 10% in order to make that happen. And again, by injecting all that artificial demand into the system, you're just driving up the costs for everybody, and reducing access, reducing quality. Meanwhile, hospitals are making just bank off of this. So of course they come out to lobby to keep the gravy train going for them. And they'll even show you the numbers. Like, oh well, no, this is such a great program. We're reducing, uncompensated care by however many hundreds of $1,000s. Yeah, but we're spending 10 times that of taxpayer money. So we would be better off as a state. You forget about the free federal money if we just took that 10% we're spending on Medicaid expansion and just write the hospitals checks that they can put in their charity care programs, and let the federal government keep that 90%.
Wow. So what is the plan with Medicaid expansion now in New Hampshire for the future?
There is no plan.
There's no plan.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there any, other than cash clinics, is there any other way to try and lower costs in New Hampshire?
Probably. I don't have it at my fingertips.
Because you were saying that a lot of the bills you don't get to read right away before we start.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I have not read all 1,400
bills
that have been filed, and I think they're only recently coming to be available for public access.
And so, how much time do you spend down at the State House?
Pretty much every day.
Every single day.
Yeah. If I'm not at the State House, I'm I guess virtually at the State House from my own house.
That's a full-time job.
Yeah, it is more than a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being a doctor. You're just on call all the time. Generally everybody knows that they can call me at all hours of the night, and I'll either pick up the phone or I'll be sleeping, and I'll get back to you when I wake up.
So you got some literature here that you said that you got from.
I did. I had the boys print me out some stuff when I came up, and I'm not real sure what they gave me. I didn't have a chance to look at it before I pulled up. I'm sure there's a long list of accomplishments from the year. We ran on a platform last election of what we called it the contract with New Hampshire. There's kind of 10 points that were all kind of focused around affordability, healthcare, housing, education, childcare, just all the things that are costing our citizens money. And hey, we recognize that these are issues for you, and we are going to get in there and try to address them. And so we've I think we've been able to make some progress on each of those points. And again, we got so far to go. I mean, what people are suffering today has so very little to do with any decisions that are made on the state level. I mean, the global and national economy is really just a monster that it's hard to put any kind of a dent into, especially with the COVID lockdown. I mean, that you're talking about trillions of dollars just disappeared from the world. And just the mounting snowball of socialism over the years. There's only so many little levers and knobs that we can move to make things better for our people. But there are some, especially around permits and licensing and zoning and these local ordinances that are out there that you just don't even know about. Like I found out about one where there are towns that were preventing people from living in the same house if they aren't related to each other.
That's a real one.
Which blew my mind. But took us 3 times to try to pass legislation to prevent that.
Really? What was the argument against it?
Well, there's these 2 magic words that get thrown around. Local control.
Yeah.
Right? As if that's a thing or a value that we have in New Hampshire, which we don't. Our entire form of government has absolutely nothing to do with local control, right? The state is the primary political entity. The United States is it's a federation of individual states. Towns, the state is not a federation of towns, right? The state existed and created these towns as arms and limbs of itself. All right, so it's up to the legislature to decide, what towns are allowed to do and what they're not. And when they start just doing stuff that we never told them they were allowed to do, we got to rein them back in. So, but yeah, you wouldn't believe how they came out of the woodwork to oppose this legislation about roommates. The town of Durham in particular was just came unglued. Like, no, you cannot tell us we
Durham's one of the toughest towns when it comes to code enforcement.
It probably is. It would not surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we finally got it done after third time's a charm. And so now you can have roommates again, no matter what town you live in. But like just the idea of that is just so mind blowing. Like who among us was able to survive young adulthood without having roommates?
Yep.
Like nobody moves out of their parents' house and then just goes and buys their own house. That just doesn't exist.
Yeah, I've rented a house with 3 or 4 friends in my 20s.
Sure,
that's how we survived.
Yep,
and split the rent.
Yeah, and there's other ways of it's. And I get why you don't want someone living next to you, and running, a fraternity house or something, or blaring the music late at night or something. But you deal with that by controlling behavior, not, discriminating against people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? No, you don't get to make noise after whatever o'clock at night, or no, you don't get to put your dirty cars up on blocks in the yard, or whatever it is that's irritating you about the behavior. You fix that.
But you still see plenty of that in every single town.
Yeah.
Already, even with local control that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. Just driving around the state. I mean, I'm sorry, there's not that many beautiful homes. Like most of us live in places that man could use some work, right? So why on earth are we discriminating against people building brand new beautiful things?
Right.
That should be the last thing we care about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. In fact, we should pay people to put like brand new beautiful things. They're like, hey, we'll give you extra if you get rid of this old thing and replace it with a brand new thing.
Yeah. So with education, where does the state stand with education? Because I've heard a lot about this problem in Claremont, where they've run short on funding.
Yeah, so that problem, I think, and again, because nobody really knows where this money went, but the best I can tell, you had someone who was not qualified to do a job being hired to do a job, and when you have 100 and however many of these SAUs around the state. These are school administrative units. These are like the business offices for the schools. And there's not that many qualified people to do all those jobs. And so, and you can't keep track of, where they are. And so they'll hire a superintendent here who, runs the business into the ground, and then they'll leave and they'll just go get hired by another SAU where they'll do the same thing. And so we had one, not a superintendent, but like a business officer of some kind, who did this in my town, cost us, over $1 million. Come to find out, he'd done the same thing over in a nearby town and had done the same thing in another nearby town before that. And either nobody knew or nobody cared.
Are they just hired? They're not elected?
These are hired people, yes.
And nobody calls for references.
Yeah. And the school boards, they're in charge. And in Claremont in particular, this school board was warned about this particular woman, and they hired her anyway.
Oh.
So, so there's a proposal this year to consolidate those school administrative units down to one per county plus a couple for the big cities. I don't know if that's the solution. That might be a solution. I'm not real clear on how these things evolved or why there's so many. I would expect if there were a free market for these SAUs that there would be a massive consolidation to probably one or two large ones, right? And maybe a couple stragglers for the districts that didn't really feel like they fit in with the big guys.
Wasn't there something where they wanted a bailout from the state?
They did. So there was a proposal from the Senate of, and they would tell you it's not a bailout. It's still a bailout. Maybe half a bailout. So it's not just totally free money. So you can give someone a loan or you can give someone a gift, right?
Okay.
This was a loan.
All right.
So they wanted to loan Claremont money against the state funds that they would be receiving anyway for the next year. And my thing is, well, okay, fine, but like you can't just make that a one-off policy just for them, because there's going to be, and there are, other districts in the same boat. So if we're going to design policy, it needs to apply to everybody equally. And also, like, we need to get in there and figure out the root cause of the problem.
Yeah, because if you have a school board that's already in debt, then you're running a deficit just to run the school.
Right.
They have to have a plan to dig themselves out of that.
Correct. And so that's my thought on the matter, is that, hey, if we're going to do this, then there need to be some oversight by the Department of Education, possibly the legislature, someone looking at the books and making sure that, hey, you guys are controlling your revenues and expenses and properly digging yourself out of the problem, and not just, throwing a temporary Band-Aid over it.
And how's that being received?
Very good. So the Senate passed a proposal out of committee, and will be voted on in January, with probably some more amendments, and we'll see how that goes. And of course, the Democrats all voted against it because they don't want any accountability.
So what is their solution then?
Well, they just want to give them free money.
Oh.
Right. As usual, this is kind of the Democrat approach to every problem is, well, we just need to take some of other people's money and give it to these people.
Where would that money come from?
From taxpayers.
You need more taxes. You need to raise that money. So what is their proposal to raise that money?
Well, in this particular case, it would be the state borrowing money to just re-loan it to the school district.
They would borrow it from what, the federal government?
However, the state borrows money.
Oh. Well, that doesn't sound like a good idea. Oh, man.
That's right. And again, the school is going to be receiving this money from the state over the course of the year anyway. Mm-hmm. So you're only talking about paying them just a little early, mm-hmm. In exchange for a tiny amount of interest. So it's not really a big deal. But again, when there is a problem like this, like we should be worried about finding the solution to the problem and not just addressing the symptoms.
Yeah. Figure out how you got there.
Right. And so we don't do it again, because there's all these other districts that are going to be in the same boat. And so how about we don't let them get into that boat?
Well, you take away the incentive to not be in the hole.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So if they know that they've got this kind of free access to this line of credit, mm-hmm. then they can let their guard down. They can be much more risky with their decision making. But if they know that that's going to come with strings of oversight and people breathing down their neck, and nobody likes that. No one wants to have someone from the state looking over their shoulder at what they're doing. So they'll be much less likely to need that assistance. But it's there if they need it.
It's too bad that It's too bad that people are spending other people's money and not thinking about it in a way of like how you would run your own house. Like you wouldn't be able to run your house in debt. And I mean, some people do, I guess, but at some point you get cut off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably everybody's had a friend like that, or a family member, right, who comes begging for money. And even with your family members, you don't just give them the money. You say, okay, I'll help you, but you're going to bring your bills over to the house, and we're going to sit down and we're going to go through them, and I'm going to help you, and we're going to cut some expenses, and you're not going to be going to Starbucks every day. And
I wish somebody could do that with the federal government.
Right. But meanwhile, we just found out today, Doge shut down.
Yeah, gone.
So that was a nice dream.
Yeah,
while it lasted.
Yeah, I'm not too enthusiastic about what I'm seeing happening on the federal level.
It's tough. Yeah, we've got Congress people just up and quitting.
Yeah,
because they don't like how the president is treating them. Mm. It's incomprehensible to me. Like why? Like you're a separate branch of government. Like I get it if your own House members are mistreating you and you just don't want to deal with them anymore, fine. But when another branch of government is irritating you, well, how about you step up and fight back? Don't just wuss out and go home.
And she always acted like a fighter.
Right.
That was, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and if you're to believe the rumors out there, there's going to be more follower.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah. So I hope that's not true, because that's just embarrassing.
It is.
I mean, I think about my own House members. Like if they came and whined to me, oh, the governor's being mean to me, I'm going to quit. Let's smack them upside the head. Like, what's wrong with you?
Oh man.
Like, have a Diet Coke, get back to work.
Yeah. It is a shame though to see like Trump going after people like Massey. It does bug me.
Yeah,
because,
that's a tough one.
I
mean, I can relate a little bit, right? Like I've got those members that I know always refuse to, vote for a budget, and I figure out how to work my way around it.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, but I think there's probably, how narrow the margin is in Congress. There's probably been some occasions where Massey has, really thrown a monkey wrench, and prevented them from doing what they needed to do. So I get why they might be irritated.
I don't think I'd see you tweeting about him like that.
No, of course not. I love Massey. He's great, a great dude, great friend, and I'll stick by him no matter what.
So you know him personally?
A little bit.
A little bit. You probably get to meet a lot of people that are on the national level, being where you're at.
Yes, yeah. Well, and as you might imagine, only a couple of them I get along with. So.
What do you think is going to happen in the midterms here? That's
a great question. Federally, nationally, I don't know. I think New Hampshire, we're going to be in good shape because of the attention being given to us by outside forces. Again, generally, because these Democrats have concentrated so hard on these federal races in New Hampshire, we just get overwhelmed with Democrat dollars. And we're generally fighting them, getting outspent 10-1.
Yeah,
or at least 6-1, sometimes 10-1. And we're able to, at least in my tenure here, have been able to fight them back sufficiently. I think this is going to be the first year where we're going to have enough outside resources to actually compete on a level playing field, and I'm anxious to see how we're able to do it in that case, even with it being a midterm. So we're kind of paddling upstream just because of the midterm with a Republican administration in the White House. But again, I think with enough money being spent on turnout, I think we can make it happen. There's something about Republicans that they just don't like to vote in anything other than a presidential election.
Yeah.
Midterms, turnout is way down. Municipal elections, way down. Like for whatever reason, we just don't care about the fact that our property taxes are just ballooning through the roof.
Well, I went to my town meeting last year or earlier this year, and the people that went there, the majority of the people voted for everything.
Yep.
All the new spending. There was a couple of hot topic issues that got voted down, and those are in the very beginning. But as soon as those are voted down, all the people that came to vote against them left.
Yep.
Like, where are you guys all going? Like, there's still more to vote on.
Mm-hmm.
And they all just left.
Yep.
And everything got voted for.
Yep. So one interesting proposal that I heard, I'm not sure if it'll go anywhere, but it would be to require a majority of everyone who showed up that day. So when you have people leave, they still count toward the total.
Oh.
So you can't get something passed late in the day just because a bunch of people left.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's interesting.
We'll see where that goes.
What's your view on SB2 towns?
What's that?
SB2?
Well, yeah, I mean, that'd be different.
Yeah, because that means everything would be on.
But my proposal is that we should require a 2/3 vote to increase spending.
Yeah, on the municipal.
On the state level too. I've sponsored constitutional amendment multiple times at this point to require a 2/3 vote of the legislature to increase or create any new tax on the state level as well.
How's that gone?
Republicans vote for it and Democrats don't, which is interesting because if you look around the country, there are other states that have that requirement, and they're not Republican states. There's red states, there's blue states, there's large states, there's small states. It's just kind of all over the place. So it's not really a partisan issue.
What is your biggest challenge in the position that you're in?
Well, that's a great question. You know what? I don't know how to answer that.
What is your biggest headache?
I guess the biggest headache I guess I have is Republicans who don't play for the team.
Okay.
Who do, like it's one thing when you disagree, because like we can all there's 221 of us in the House, and we aren't all the same. Like you can't pick any two of those members and have them agree on everything altogether, right? So we can disagree and still be friends and still be on the same team. And it's when you cross that line and you start acting or treating Republicans like an enemy rather than a friend.
Now, are you talking about legislators?
Yes, and then people outside as well. There's in New Hampshire there's not really a distinction between the activist class and the elected official class like there is in most states, just because there's so many of us elected, right? There's not anyone left to be to be outside, right? So activists and legislators are kind of one and the same here.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just this real, and I feel like this is really, I don't know. So back when I first started, the big divide I saw was, what we called the establishment, and then the more liberty oriented folks like myself, and that rift seemed to be solved pretty quickly. Probably by 2018, 2020, especially after the 2020 election. I feel like we had mended that divide entirely.
What mended that then?
I think a lot of it was like my change of attitude, right? Just realizing that these guys I used to call the establishment are like there's nothing wrong with them. They're good Republican people too, and they just like have a different sense of what's possible and what's not, and maybe they were correct, right? And I think I may have helped them have a different attitude toward people like me, that hey, well these people aren't nuts, and we're normal people too, and we can all just get along. But now after the Trump era, there's now this whole new group of insurgents that just is coming from a completely different place and hasn't figured out how to relate to the rest of us, and we haven't figured out how to relate to them. Yeah, and it's very very conspiracy theory oriented, and just willing to attack and just be inappropriate toward people who are supposed to be on the same side.
I've always loved a good conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah, we all do.
And right? I've followed the Free State Project for I don't know. I think I probably first heard about it in 2009, 2010, and now to see Free Staters, and it's both on the left and the right. It feels like being called basically globalists. It's kind of.
So are we the globalists, or
I think the Free Staters are the globalists now, right?
Okay,
is that what it's?
I don't know. I can't tell.
But to see that, it's very bizarre.
Yeah. But what's funny is it's
libertarians are now called the globalists in this state. By some of the people like I think that you might be talking about.
Sure. Well, yeah. Again, these are just words that are thrown out as epithets, right? Like so, Free Stater doesn't really mean anything. We're all Free Staters at this point because it's just a word that is used by people to describe someone who's not them.
Yeah.
Right. so you got people who've lived here all their life that are called Free Staters. You got people who never even heard the word before called Free Staters, and the same with globalists, right? It's just a word that some of these folks that we were just talking about just use to describe the people who aren't them.
Yeah. I got called an establishment Republican not too long ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's the first for me.
Yeah. Well, I always knew, like, from the beginning, I took this job. I knew, okay, I've got a limited shelf life before I start getting called the establishment or a sellout or some other whatever the activists want to say. And it was amazing to me how almost instantaneously that occurred. like the same people that I was fighting with one day, like they're fighting against me the next day, just because someone gave me a title to put on my desk.
Did it feel weird the first time you ever got attacked?
No, I love that stuff. Like I feed off the hate. So one of my favorites was this group of folks led a parade through my neighborhood with like bullhorns, and they like camped out in front of my house, and they were yelling obscenities and stuff. Luckily my wife was gone; she doesn't put up with stuff like that. But my neighbors just thought it was the most hysterical thing. They came back the next week, and neighbors were all out at the end of their driveway with their cameras. And
are these lefties or what? Or
in my town, no, there's no lefties.
There's no lefties. These are right wing people.
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
So that was fun, and of course the Democrats just love to come after me. They took out a full page ad against me a couple weeks ago, and I just love it. I can't get enough of it. Because if I'm irritating them, that means I'm doing my job.
Yeah, we had some of our state reps in this area. They were called out, and they were trying to get they're trying to get our state reps to pretty much denounce you for one of your posts that you made on X right after Charlie Kirk.
Right.
The one where you said that our sons have been conscripted to war.
Right.
Yeah. And that was, how do you think the atmosphere is right now, being almost it's been 2 months since Charlie Kirk was assassinated?
Yeah. I mean,
you think it's cooled down?
People forget about stuff real quick.
Yeah.
It's almost like it never happened.
Yeah.
At this point. Now, I will say that the lingering effect is that I'm seeing younger people very, very activated.
Yeah.
Still, which is good. I don't think they're really driven by the feelings at this point. I think they're just turned on now and ready to get to work. So I've been traveling around the state with the speaker and some of the rest of our team, just visiting businesses and also campuses, and talking to the students. I mean, I'm rolling in to campuses where they're filling up rooms of kids who are Republicans and interested in talking to other Republicans, whereas it didn't used to be that way.
No.
Good luck finding a Republican on a campus.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, after Trump was elected, I remember like Black Bloc shut down Ben Shapiro event.
Right.
In Berkeley, I think.
Yep. And
then we had the Battle of Berkeley, and there was a lot of political violence.
There was. I think to some degree the Charlie Kirk incident calmed some of that down, because I think I mean, as much as there is this assassination culture on the left, I don't think that it was very internalized, right? Like once they were confronted with the reality of it, they're like, oh crap, like someone's actually dead. I think that maybe made people have to rethink their attitude a little bit.
I think some people. I have still seen some rallies where they're still calling Republicans fascists.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean it's not going to go away overnight. But I think there's enough normal people out in the world that they don't want to be so associated with actual violence. Like it's one thing to talk about it and like almost like locker room talk. I'm sure there's plenty of that goes on the right as well.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like how many? Or when are we going to have the Civil War? Like, well, no, we're not. Just stop that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people right now want to see it, see a lot of the violence that are in the cities go away. I think in Chicago there was just a young woman that was set on fire by a guy who was arrested 72 times.
Yeah.
And those types of stories are the ones I think that are people want more law and order nationwide.
Yeah, another good reason to live in New Hampshire.
Yeah, because we have one of the lowest crime rates here.
Yeah, the lowest.
And some of the most lax gun laws too.
Correct. It's almost like those two things go together.
Yeah. Well, Mike Belcher's got one, I think, coming up where any firearm that's manufactured in New Hampshire can't be regulated by the ATF.
Great.
Yeah. I think that'll be a good one.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, the debate on that is going to be interesting.
Absolutely.
I've talked to the gun lobbyists about that. I don't know. I just don't know how possible that is.
No.
Or what we would be risking by doing that.
How so?
Like what will the feds do to us if we try to?
You think they take away funding?
I think Kansas tried to pass something similar, and so we have passed a few different laws like that, just kind of preemptively rejecting unconstitutional executive orders and laws from Washington. It hasn't been put to the test yet because unfortunately we didn't go so far as to say that to declare the NFA unconstitutional, which was my idea, but
I could get down with that.
Right. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Now, put to the test. I mean, like somebody has to.
Right. So there would have to be an executive order that New Hampshire would refuse to comply with.
Okay.
And then we would see what would happen.
Was the bump stock ban, that was through the ATF? That wasn't an executive order, was it?
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Okay. I wonder just like how much. So, what can they really do? Can they take away funding? Is that one thing that you?
That's one thing that they could do.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
I don't know. I mean, they could send the ATF in here and start raiding people, or I don't know.
Who knows? You tried to repeal the NFA?
When we passed that legislation,
okay,
to I guess preempt unconstitutional executive orders and statute, they didn't want to go back to apply to existing law. It's only for new laws going forward.
Oh,
so
womp womp.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get why. It'd be very complicated to like go back and address every single firearm related law on the books now. It's much easier to say, okay, if any new ones come along, we'll deal with those at that time.
I guess so. I almost think it would be simple enough just to read the Constitution and take it for its word.
It shall not be infringed.
Right.
I don't know how it gets any simpler.
So we got 1,400 bills coming up. When does the legislative session start again?
So January 5th or 6th, sound about right? And so the first order of business is to clear up all the bills that are held over from the previous year. We'll act on those. So it'll take probably 2 or 3 days. And then we get started on all the new stuff for the year.
Okay. And then
and hopefully we'll be done by June.
I've watched some of those videos. You guys are there for like 10 hours just voting.
Yeah, I will say we've gotten pretty quick at it. It used to take even longer. But yeah, we're pretty efficient. I try to hold my people to 1-minute speeches.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They don't all listen, but
can you pull them off when they get too long? Or?
No, unfortunately. And we do have a tradition of allowing people to speak. So if you ever try to call the question, it doesn't go very well.
Yeah. But, yeah, some bills that you guys vote on they go right through, but then other ones you'll see debates go back and forth quite a bit.
Yeah, and I get so especially when you're the minority, like you don't have any ability to actually change the outcome. So the only thing you can do is grandstand.
Yeah,
and cause a scene. So I get it, and I try not to hold it against them too much, even though it's excruciating to listen to.
There's now are Democrats and Republicans getting along in the State House?
I for the most part. Yeah. The problem is that you get the occasional stick up the ass person who just doesn't understand the game, or takes themselves too seriously, and instead of just taking the job seriously. Especially the old timey people. I guess again, things were different back in the day. We're a little looser and not as formal in this today's culture as we once were. You can tell just by how people dress on the street, right? So yeah, so occasionally I'll irritate some of the gray hair old ladies. I'm like, how dare you?
You said you've been traveling to the colleges and talking to young people. Is there a lot of interest in young people getting into the legislature?
There is some,
yeah.
Not too much. They've got a lot on their plate.
Yeah,
it's a big ask to take time out of your year to come do this. So we have two college students in the House that, at least on the Republican side. They're probably more on the Democrat side. But yeah, it's good. Certainly wouldn't want an entire legislature full of college students, but it's good to have a couple to represent and go back and tell their friends how things work.
Yeah. With what's coming up this year, what are some of the biggest things that you'll be working on?
So probably my favorite bill that I've got is this one about manufactured housing.
Okay.
So if you look at a map of the state and how it's zoned, there's only about 5% of the residential area where you're allowed to have manufactured housing, which to me is ridiculous. Like, why in the world would you discriminate against a method of construction, something that looks just like another thing and is built to the same standards and quality? I would argue that possibly to a greater standard quality, because it comes from a factory where there's a lot better quality control than there is out on the field, where like who knows what's going on out there. I'm sure everyone with a house knows, when you start digging, pulling apart walls, and you're like, whoa, wait, what did they do? Right?
Yeah, you want to take a tour around my place?
So, I mean, my house isn't even that old, and I know when we went in to remodel it, I mean, just the stuff we found was just insane. Anyway, but you got companies out there that are producing perfectly great homes for half the cost.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be delivered in much less time. Like, why in the world, when things cost so much today, would we be standing in the way of people having access to putting a roof over their head? It's just totally nuts to me. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get that passed this year. It got held up last year because there's a lot of just misinformation about what it was. Like, people are imagining that there's just going to be rusty trailers all over their neighborhoods. And I mean, that's just not, this isn't 1974. And that's not what's being built today. Like, I've walked through these things. I'm going to have a manufacturer just like put a house just in the parking lot of the legislative building, so that everybody can just like walk through and see. I'm like, oh, well, I guess this isn't what I thought at all. So maybe I will vote for this.
Like a manufactured home, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and they're all different shapes and sizes, and you can get anything you want these days.
Yeah, you can.
I've got, and just because I'm working on this now, of course, my Facebook feed is just full of nothing but this.
the misinformation that I've been seeing about a lot of this stuff is that it's going to create basically more housing for migrants and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of fear tactics, I think, around some of these housing bills. And like I know like the ADU law that just got signed, like that's a good law. Like people can actually put an extra unit on your house. It's not getting any easier to house your kids or even your elderly people.
Yeah,
And,
or disabled veterans,
Mhm.
or just anybody else who needs, assistance to live.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why stick them in some kind of nursing home or assisted living facility when they can be with their family?
Yeah.
And like, why in the world would we get in the way of people figuring out how to live?
Well, I had Calvin Bowler. I don't
Hmm?
want to say Bueller. Bowler.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I know who you're talking about.
Okay, good. He said that when he was on here, he said, basically a lot of the towns that you see in New Hampshire now, you wouldn't be able to rebuild them if something happened, just because of the housing.
Oh no, yeah. Every single town in New Hampshire would be illegal today.
Yeah.
Which is just odd because that's what people like, right?
And he was telling me about how there was a push to basically stop expansion from happening, to control, create more control in these areas and keep things from exploding, because of the fear of sprawl.
Yeah, but that's exactly what they're getting, is the sprawl, because they're not allowing more compact
So people have to go
development to occur.
Further
right.
out. There's no, yeah.
Right. So you end up being like New Jersey, right, where the entire state is just nothing but sprawl.
Mm.
And nobody wants that, right? Like, don't we want to keep our mountains and all the stuff that makes New Hampshire beautiful?
Yeah.
Like, let's let the market work, man.
It's got to be tough though, like doing what you're doing and the tools that you do have available to try and make things more affordable for people on the state level, and then you just have a federal government that constantly just spends and spends and spends, and it makes it worse and worse and worse. Yeah. But when you're out there trying to campaign, I'm sure you're catching all sorts of heat from voters saying, how bad things are, or all the things they don't like, and
nobody really knows the difference between what's caused by the state and what's caused by the federal government. People are just trying to live their lives and not be bothered by that stuff.
Absolutely.
And so so we get blamed for things that other people are doing, and how much does the state get blamed for stuff that the local governments are doing,
right,
in their school budgets?
Yeah,
like, my property taxes are too high. Stop spending all that money on schools.
Yeah, the majority of our taxes are from the schools. Right,
and I get there's some that we can do. Like if we can figure out how to stop, these special ed costs, for example, from escalating. I mean, that's $1 billion a year out of $4 billion spent on education. That's just for special ed. That's all completely unaccountable, unknowable. Nobody knows where that money goes.
Really?
Yeah, it's bad.
How
it needs to be dealt with. And there's so everything, and so there's a lower end and a higher end of this. So on the lower end is just all the individuals that are run through these assessments. And every single one of these assessments costs thousands of dollars, and so that all adds up over time. And then on the other hand, you've got these just unfortunate kids that need a lot of help, right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. That's not education though, right? That's healthcare or something else that you need to call that. It's not educate. There's nothing you're going to do to educate those people. They need help, and we need to figure out how to take care of them as a society, but that's not part of education, right? And we need to stop trying to conflate those things.
So are you trying to divert the cost of that from education to a more appropriate fund that would help?
That would be ideal. Again, it remains to be seen how we are able to solve this problem. There's a lot of federal mandate, and there's going to be a certain amount of, how are we willing to stand up to the federal government and those mandates? And if we're not going to stand up to them, like how can we at least control the spend and maybe knock it down a little bit, maybe incentivize families to opt out of that system into something else that's more cost effective. Just as an example, with the Education Freedom Account program that we've implemented, I don't know the number off the top of my head, a lot of those students who were special ed students in the public school, they leave into the EFA program. They're no longer special ed students because they're getting whatever they need outside of the school system.
Okay.
And that's just, I mean, just little things like, every kid learns differently. You have kids?
Yeah.
Okay. So, probably each of them is a different person, and each of them is a different person from all the other kids that they're friends with. Right. So they each need just a little bit of different treatment. That doesn't mean you need to spend, thousands of dollars of special ed funding on them, but they just need something a little different. And if they can get that, from the Education Freedom Account program, great. If they can get that some other way through the public school, also great. Maybe they just need to go to a different public school, nearby. Maybe that's why we need this open enrollment bill passed that we'll be voting on.
What is that?
So this would allow any student to move from one public school to another.
Okay.
Right. So right now, a school can be an open enrollment school if they want to be, which means they can receive students from all around the state. But not every school is a receiving school. So we passed out of the House legislation that would require every school to be a receiving school. And of course, the argument is like, oh, well, no, then all the students will leave and we'll have to shut down the school. Like, well, maybe you should have been running a better school that people didn't want to leave. Right. And that's choice and competition is where quality comes from. It's the only way you get it.
Why are people so against school choice, do you think?
Because so on one hand, they have an overactive imagination, and on the other hand, they have a complete lack of imagination of how the real world would work. So they imagine like, oh, if you have school choice, then, well, the public schools are just going to empty overnight. Like, well, why would you think that? Like, do you believe that the public schools are that bad? And on the other hand, like, if they are that bad, then the only way to make them better is to provide choice, to incentivize them to improve. Right?
Yeah. We homeschool as of right now, and we were in the public school, and it's been better for my son who's been doing homeschooling. I feel like he learns a lot better in a homeschool situation. We don't go through the EFA or anything like that, but it's not super expensive to educate them. No,
as long as you've got, someone available to be with them. So when I was a kid, we homeschooled as well. And, we just, all the families participated in it, everybody in the, in town.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe one day we'd be over at Uncle Tom's house, and the other day we'd be over at, at Mrs. Johnson's house, and you kind of you move around and do what you need to do. And
so a quarter of our education costs are special needs. About that?
Yes.
Is there any sort of incentive to classify a child as special needs? Federal funding?
Yeah, you'd like there to be federal funding, but there's not. No. So when they created these laws, of course, the federal government promised some certain percentage of 40 some percent. In reality, that's been less than 10%.
Oh,
so we get very little funds from the federal government to pay for these things.
It's on the state.
Yeah, but these local school districts do get more money from the state.
Okay.
When they can, classify these kids. I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough to be a perverse incentive on the school district's part, because so much of that cost is wrapped up in just doing these assessments, as we've learned this year looking into this. So I don't know that that's a problem, but on the other hand, you've got, parents that are just, they want their kids to get what they need, and so they're always putting pressure to just do whatever needs to be done to get. And the demands they make are oftentimes very ridiculous. Like, hey, I need to have a full-time assistant, sit with my student in class all day, right? And if they can get that, then that's gets paid for by tax dollars.
They tried to do that with me when I was in school, when I was young, but my dad wouldn't let them. He said I wasn't stupid. I was just lazy. He'll figure it out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and most kids do. It's that's the thing with kids. They can learn more than you could ever possibly imagine if you just let them do it when they want to do it.
Yeah.
If you try to make them, never going to happen.
Yeah. I hated school. I hated sitting there, and I would just tone out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a big fan of it at all. And I don't know, maybe how we educate kids should be rethought completely as far as like public education goes. Maybe some kids do fine in a classroom scenario, but a lot of kids don't. And just that's why.
And not only that, but the ones who are really good at it are bored out of their minds, and they get into different kinds of trouble, right? Those are the ones who become criminal masterminds.
But more hands-on school, like more like you can have more shop classes, more mechanics classes. I think we need to bring that type of education back to school. You don't really get that anymore. I don't feel like more like put the kids outside more. Not set them in a room.
Oh, sure. Well, they definitely need to be learning more about the real world and not, how to go become a gender studies professor or, whatever else they've got these kids doing.
Yeah. My son's learning about inflation through the Tuttle twins.
Great. Oh, yeah. Tuttle twins are awesome.
Yeah. Because we went to McDonald's and you got a Happy Meal. And now they give you like this tiny little fry. And because I took him out to dodgeball, and after that, that's where we went. And I was telling him about like when I was a kid, like how different the McDonald's experience was when I was a kid, and then when
where they had playgrounds and they like burned off energy before they ate their greasy food.
Yeah, they don't have that anymore.
No.
And they were doing the Monopoly game, and I was telling them about the Monopoly game. I was like, when I was a kid, you would get this big map, like a Monopoly board, and you'd get the pull-off tabs and put them all on there. And now it's all digital, and you get like maybe one tab to pull, so it's not the same as it used to be. No, I don't like the new. I don't know if they will call it like modern style, the way that they do it, and the cost of everything is just enormous now too.
Yeah,
and
I refuse to go back since they got rid of the supersize.
Yeah. Well, that was one thing I was showing them the French fries. I was like, dude, when I was a kid, you would get like a real size French fry in the Happy Meal. Yeah. And I said, but then a bunch of people started suing McDonald's because they got fat.
So back in the day, I would pull into McDonald's every morning before work and grab a supersized Diet Coke. And when they stopped doing it, I was so mad. And every morning, I would still go through the drive-thru every morning and order my supersized Diet Coke. And I say, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have supersized. And I just take off. I must have done that for 6 months straight.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. Yeah. Things have definitely changed in this country, I think, over the last 20 years. And I don't know. I think that I think that a lot of it just goes back to government spending and monetary policy and also just social norms that are just so much different. And if you want to raise a kid in this world, you can't rely on government institutions to do it. and you can't rely on like pop culture the way it is now. Like we don't watch a lot of TV in our house.
Mm.
We don't have kids on YouTube or any of that. You kind of have to, if you want to have like a more traditional way of living, you have to be very involved in your kids' lives. I feel like.
Yeah, it's tough. Well, and there's nothing. I guess there's nothing to interface with out in the world anymore. I mean, nobody's involved in clubs or very little sports or anything like that. I mean, golf courses are even closing everywhere. I don't know. Yeah, when I was a kid, there was just all kinds of things to do all over the place: basketball courts and tennis courts, and people to hang out with. Church attendance is down.
Yeah.
All the different things that people used to do, they just don't do anymore.
Yeah. A lot of people are buried in the screens.
Mm-hmm.
We actually, we like to take the kids out to like dinner like once a month, and we like to do it so that we can kind of socialize them and have them sit at a table and not be disruptive. Like you want other people to see your kids and not be like, oh man, I wish they'd go away.
Right.
And they did great. We were sitting at a restaurant this past weekend, and all three kids were quiet, and all of them were just eating and enjoying themselves, and it was awesome. And that's like you got to really lead by example when you're raising kids. It feels like, and I'm fairly new at it myself, so I don't know.
How old are your kids?
9, 2, and 1.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah,
Little ones,
and they're very well behaved. So it's a really proud feeling for me and my wife to be able to sit there and other people will talk to them, wave at them, and they'll smile and stuff, but they're not screaming, they're not fighting, and they're not staring at screens either doing it.
Yeah, my little ones were very loud. So I think each of them, when they went through that first 2 years, we would take turns when we went out to eat. So one of us would have to sit in the car with the screaming kid while the other one ate, and then we'd reverse.
When the 2-year-old was like probably 9 months old, about a year old, we were at a restaurant. She was in a high chair and she was screaming and being disruptive. So I just turned her around and made her look at everybody. And she stopped. And then I turned her back around. I was like, "You're gonna be good," and she was fine after that. There was a couple times I had to like take her out and give her a little break, but then you bring her back and she's fine. And yeah, I mean, having kids is the best thing that's ever happened to me, and it's probably the best thing I think anybody could really do, even if they don't know it. They're not ready for it. I mean, you're never ready for it.
Yeah. Well, that's the only reation we're here on the planet, I think.
And that's the only reason
why more of us.
Yeah, it's the only reason why we'll continue. So I think that like we need more policies in our state that make it easier for people to have kids and to be able to support a family.
Yep. Yeah, I think I was reading an article this morning just about just the absolute despondency that young people have with regard to having children. Like they can't even imagine what it would be like to do. So they don't take the steps that are necessary to make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
What do you think? Do you have any ideas on how we could get our birth rate up?
Well, see, when a mommy and a daddy love each other very much,
but like young people right now, they don't. I don't think they see much of a future because they think that it's so expensive to live now that they can never see themselves owning a house, so they can never see themselves being able to afford to have a kid.
Yeah, I mean, we have. I guess we have to do everything we can to help. To not. So I don't think we're going to be able to ever make anything more like it's never going to be more affordable to own what we used to be able to own, right? Like, but we have to like dream up new ways of being able to reconfigure the world that we have.
So those days are gone.
I mean, for the foreseeable, right? You know, like it's not going to be probably in my kids' lifetime that we reverse, 100 years of decline, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll do what we can. I mean, just look at the amount of the cost of a new home that's wrapped up in just compliance with, regulation and bureaucracy and red tape. It's a lot. It's like a third. Right? There's got to be some of that we can get rid of. Let's not make it so that it takes 2 years to wait for a driveway permit. Things like that. Like the guy who works on my house, he's been trying to put together a development in a nearby town. It's been 10 years trying to get the permits in place, and he just finally got them last week. And now he's too old to do the building himself, so he's got to sell the land to someone else to do. I mean, like who nothing is ever going to get done if it takes 10 years to do. That's not how anyone does business in the real world. You got to shrink that timeline down to under 18 months.
So this is a problem that's been here for a long time.
It's been escalating over time because it's not it's not one policy. It's a spider web of policies that get built over time because someone thought that this one little thing is a good idea, and this one little thing, and it all adds up. Same in the healthcare industry and why everything costs so much there. We mandate this and then we mandate that, and then what about these people over here? And then, why does insulin cost so much? And why can't this be covered? And we need. I don't know. It's like everyone wants their little piece of the action, and it all adds up to unsustainable costs.
Too much government.
Always.
So if you weren't always a Republican. You hated politics before.
I mean, I guess I always was a Republican.
What drove your philosophy then on life?
That's a great question. I mean, like I said, so I homeschooled when I was a kid, and I think I mentioned my Uncle Tom.
Yeah.
So spent a lot of time talking to him, and he was an old conservative guy who talked a lot. So I heard a lot about him from him, and he gave me Ayn Rand to read when I was like 10 years old. and I think when I was a kid, that was when Rush Limbaugh was just getting popular. So I started listening to him, and then from him, I heard about this place called Hillsdale College. I don't know if you've heard of this place, but it's like the one conservative bastion in the entire country. And back then, there was no internet, so like there's no learning about the world without going out into it and experiencing it. So I heard about this place, Hillsdale College, and so I said, okay, well, that's where I want to go to school. And so I went there, and then went to George Mason for grad school in economics, because that's where the free market economists were from. And so I guess I just always gravitated toward that kind of thinking.
Okay. Do you have any recommendations for anybody that wants to get more involved in politics in New Hampshire?
Yeah, you're not going to be able to help but get involved, because we all do it here. I mean, most represented state in the entire country. There's one House member for every 3,300 people. So there's that, and there's all the local government that takes place too. You can get on your planning board, you can get on your school board, you can get on your budget committee, you can get on your select board. It's just all this opportunity and responsibility that's out there. Like, someone's got to do this stuff. So don't sit on the sidelines. There's no excuse for that. I guess there is excuse for that. You could find other things to do, but like, someone's going to do it. And do you want it to be someone who's going to screw it up?
Right.
So, I mean, don't let people mess up your town, and don't let people mess up your state. Get in there, get involved, and there's so many opportunities. You just pick one and do it.
So you're optimistic about New Hampshire, are you?
I am. I mean, yeah. I think this is the only. This would be probably the only state I'm optimistic about. I think Florida is doing pretty good too. I'm not real sure how they're going to do after Ron is done with his term as governor, but maybe they hold it together and keep it going. But I think New Hampshire is on a great trajectory, and it's going to keep going that way.
Jason, I want to thank you for coming here and talking to me.
Oh, no problem. I'm happy to do it.
Is there anything else you want to cover?
I think we covered quite a lot.
Okay.
I don't know.
And where can people find you online?
If you go to Osborne 4NH on X, that's probably where I most of my activity is. I don't think I've updated my website in 6 years, so you don't need to go there. Reach out anytime, and don't believe anything you read about me on the internet, because only about 10% of it's true. And
all right. Well, thanks again.
All right. Anytime.